All right, I just got off work with the kiddies. Obviously, last night there was the Samurai Warriors 5 stream. I decided to not stay up with for it because I know from my experience with being in the Muso community for 20 years that they tend to not announce anything. They tell you the game exists, they show you some renders, maybe you get like some like audible vertical slices of the gameplay, and that's it. And lo and behold, that's pretty much what they showed. They showed like one Muso attack. The main thing was introducing the characters. I think this game's in a pretty weird spot because they're announcing it. This is the last week of February, and the game comes out in June, so that means they essentially have like 3.5 months to market this game, which, as you know, in the modern gaming industry, is like that's like the equivalent of like a minute these days. That Cyberpunk game came out, and the gameplay footage they showed, like right until the end, was completely doctored and just made for those trailers. And even DMC5 for a AAA game, obviously DMC5 at a way larger budget than something like a AA title, like pretty much anything that comes from Koei. That was only 9 months, so I think they will show gameplay eventually. The main thing they're doing here is they're doing like uh, basically a soft reboot. Obviously, it's the same characters. They're not focusing on completely rebooting everything, but it's going to be like starting from the beginning again. So at Honoji, when Mitsuhide and Nobunaga get into their fight over who knows what, then that's supposedly when it's going to end. They said that there's going to be 27 characters. Uh, I know a lot of people don't agree with my viewpoints and opinions on Muso. I've been around for a long time. I've been around through the highs and lows of this genre. I'd argue right now we're in the lows because Basara is dead. There hasn't been a Basara game in over 5 years at this point. Uh, a lot of the stuff Koei has been putting out has had a lot of shortcomings. Most recently, Dynasty Warriors 9 needs no explanation what was wrong with that game. We had Warriors Orochi 4, which has awful pacing problems, and the endgame mode didn't really do much to really add replay value. We had Age of Calamity, which apparently will have similar design to this from what little they've shown, where I guess the characters are going to be more unique. But that game had like 2 FPS at all times. I physically could not play it. That's one of the biggest complaints I see about that game. I'm glad that people are starting to wake up and realize that we're in 2021 now. We can't be accepting low frame rates for especially for games like this. There definitely are games where you can get away with it, but when you're playing a fast-paced action game, you need that responsiveness. I think this game is going to be a good chance for them to turn things around, maybe get people interested. I just feel like they have a hell of an uphill battle because this community in general, most people are obsessed with the quantity of the characters instead of the quality. I know from my experience, I play pretty much all Muso games. I played most of the imitations. I played the best stuff, which is Basara, and I played the imitations like Fate, Extella Link, and some of the other games and things like that. Um, you know, Cutting the roster is a necessary sacrifice for gameplay. They're only going to have 27 characters. We don't know if there's going to be a season pass. Um, Age of Calamity just got a season pass announced at the last Nintendo Direct about a week or two ago. So I assume that maybe they'll do some more there, but it seems like they're going to be pretty restricted to who they can add for story reasons. Since they're stopping at Hanoji, that's going to cut off a lot of the other characters. I don't know if there will be aging, but I personally don't care about that. I don't care that, they look like they just graduated high school and they've been fighting for like 80 years. Like, I really don't care. I don't see why it's necessary. I feel like if you really want that, it's probably better to just play like, the Three Kingdoms games, the romance games, or just play one of the Empires games and just age them up. Even in, even in Neo 2, which is not technically, Samurai Warriors, it does take place in the Sengoku period. Some of the designs, like Nobunaga, are pretty similar, especially in the first Neo. You can just do that kind of thing there. I think what they need to do is they need to take advantage of the fact that they don't have to have all the characters. They can get rid of those old ass decrepit movesets. I really don't want to see those movesets again. I feel like the Samurai Warriors movesets kind of got to the point where the Morrigan sprite and the KOF 96 sprites got to where those move sets were just in everything, and the fatigue started to set in really quickly. I'd argue it was pretty much right after Samurai Warriors 3 is when the fatigue started to set in for me. especially since at that time Basara 3 had come out, and they had the foresight to realize that they couldn't keep adding more characters without having to sacrifice the depth of the gameplay. And Basara 3, we pretty much got the same thing what they're doing here. It wasn't really a reboot. They did do some redesigns like they're doing here, but mostly they just use it as an excuse to cut characters and improve the combat. And now to this day, the Basara series still has the best combat out of any Muso game. It's just kind of depressing when you think about it because Basara's pretty much been out of commission for closer to a decade now. Sumeragi was like 6 years ago, and then a year after that, Yukimura Den came out, and that was uh, it was a half improvement. They did have some really nice new movesets and characters in there, but a lot of the mechanics got stripped, and it just wasn't worth full price. I hope that we'll see some more gameplay depth here. I know that a lot of people are going to disagree with me. I'm probably going to get dislikes on the videos and stuff. I honestly don't care. I feel like we need quantity or quality over quantity. We need better move sets. We need the gameplay to reach new heights, especially since Basara is not around anymore. They did that basically eulogy stream last year for the 15th anniversary, and all they announced was rice cookers and guitars, and the people that were running the stream could even see the chat. I can't describe how I can't imagine how like depressed those people were. They probably didn't want to show all that crap either, but that's the situation that was given to them. I hope that I mean apparently what we're seeing here, there's like supposed to be some new kind of mechanic called frenzy attacks. I hope it is not Godspeed attacks. I feel like Godspeed attacks were like a band-aid on the problem that some of the movesets were approaching about a decade old by the time Samurai Warriors 4 came around. And then when you consider that they did another couple games with those same movesets, they did Empires and then Spirit of Sanada, and then they did Warriors Orochi 4. It had been about a decade since those, actually over a decade, because Samurai Warriors 2 was 2006, I believe, and Warriors Orochi 4 was 2018. So those movesets were used for 12 years. I'm glad that they're taking the advantage to. Supposedly, I mean, they showed like literally 10 seconds of gameplay. They showed Nohime doing Amuso, and that was it. Hopefully, we're going to see some better gameplay across the board. As you know, I haven't really been playing Muso much lately. It's not because I have wanted to abandon the people that only watch me for Muso. It's just that there hasn't been anything interesting going on right now. Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires, I have to admit, I'm not really that interested in it. It's been vaporware for about 4 to 5 months now, actually. That was announced back at the anniversary stream. They announced that in the mobile game, and the mobile game, I believe, comes out in a few weeks, and then Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires has had no information at all. I don't really want to play that game much anymore. I hope that maybe they'll revamp the combat there and declone some characters. With Dynasty Warriors 9, I could tell that when they were doing the season passes, they did the 3 seasons of DLC before they dropped support for the game, that they were putting a lot more work into the DLC weapons, and that's something that's been a tradition since Dynasty Warriors 7, basically. Dynasty Warriors 7 had stuff like the boomerang and the gauntlets and stuff, 7 and 8 respectively, that had way more advanced mechanics and stuff and cool gimmicks and things, and they definitely tried to do that, tried to incorporate that design into the rest of the Dynasty Warriors 8 weapons, and then the DLC improved it even farther. With Dynasty Warriors 9, I definitely had more fun playing with the DLC weapons. I felt like they had kind of found their stride, and they knew that the combat system is limited. A lot of the characters are very homogenized. The movesets are very homogenized. You're basically doing the same thing with different skins. There were some minuscule properties like being able to Helmbreaker and things like that, and certain moves could be canceled into others, but other than that, everything was very homogenized. I hope that Samurai Warriors 5 is going to take advantage of the fact that they are effectively starting from scratch. They do not have the burden of the massive roster anymore. They can basically do whatever they want. I hope that, I don't know, if the charge system isn't gone, I hope they at least have dodge offsetting. I think that's one of the most awkward things about playing, like going back and playing like the first 3 Pirate Warriors games, and then playing something like Orochi 4 or Pirate Warriors 4 or Dynasty Warriors 9, where there's no offsetting and you're stuck doing the same thing we've been doing for 20 years, which is just mashing the square button to get to the attack you want to use, and there's no ability to dodge, offset, or anything. I was going to hold off on this until they had more gameplay, but it seems like they are going to drip feed information, which is kind of odd because the game is out and literally 4 months. They don't really have a lot of time. Apparently, they're going to be doing monthly streams, so I figured I would just get my thoughts out for it. I am cautiously optimistic, I guess, to put it nicely. I don't really know what to expect. It's very hard to pass judgment. I'm used to this kind of thing. The Tales series, a lot of the other fandoms I'm in, like Tales series and stuff, like they barely show any gameplay. When they do, it's just somebody button mashing, and it takes like, Swillow or Mega or Lirad or some of the other people or a clip. It takes them to actually show like if the battle system is good, what are the faults of it, what are the advantages of it, and things like that. In terms of my plans for buying it, I am interested in playing it, but the fact that there's a month like gap between the Japanese release and the PC release. As you know, I have a bog standard base PS4. After Age of Calamity, I'm not sure if I want to drop $80 on an import and have it run at 20 FPS. I am trying to get a PS5, but getting that thing is like the holy grail right now. I don't have the money for it at the moment. I'm hoping that when Mr. Biden gives us our second stimmy, that maybe I can get one then. I think the best thing to do would be if you guys really want day one release gameplay, maybe I'll set up like a donation drive a little bit closer to release, and maybe I could just fund a PS4 copy. It's not going to have a PS5 version. It seems like what they're going to do is the game will probably run uncapped, and then it will just run at 60 or higher on the PS5 by default or proxy. I think that would be best for everybody. I know people are going to be wanting my opinions and stuff, but as a content creator, especially one that's partnered with Koei Tecmo America, it puts me in a very difficult spot because I tend to get games two to 3 weeks before release from them. So at most, it would be like maybe a 2-week deficit before I actually had the game in my hands. However, I don't know if there will be an embargo with what's it called, Neo 2. There was no embargo, but actually there was a very lax embargo. I couldn't show the DLC 3 boss, but beside that, I could do pretty much anything I wanted. I assume things will be more strict here. I'll update you guys as the game gets closer to release. I am trying to get a PS5, but right now, to be honest, the revenue of the channel has been fluctuating rapidly, and it's just been hard to get a PS5. Like, with the last stimulus I got in January, I just went ahead and got the new phone because I wanted to break and do some mobile content. Obviously, I'm trying to get ready for DMC Pinnacle of Combat, which is actually getting a public beta next month, and I just couldn't get a hold of a PS5. Supposedly, it's supposed to be getting easier. They did the state of play for PlayStation earlier today, and they announced the Final Fantasy VII remaster, the remake remaster with 60 FPS and much faster load times and stuff. It seems like they're going to try to get them into hands faster. I don't know what I'm going to do with this game. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, the politicians get off their asses and they give us that second stimmy. At that point, I will try to get a PS5 however I can, and maybe we'll do a little mini donation drive for just like $70 or whatever it's going to be to get it on PS4. That way you guys can get the overview and stuff, and then depending on if I get the PS5 by then or not, then we will just wait for the PC version. So overall, I am cautiously optimistic. It's really hard to pass judgment when they haven't shown much of anything. I like that they have this martial arts chick here. Hopefully the gameplay mechanics do her justice. There hasn't been a good martial artist in Koei Musou games for a hot minute, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, those are my thoughts. It's kind of hard to really say much of anything right now. It's kind of weird that they have such a short marketing cycle for this when Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires was announced literal months ago, and there hasn't been a single second of gameplay. The trailer was the standard like Western AAA thing where they just show a bunch of CG and that's it. I don't know how they really expect to sell that game. Dynasty Warriors 9 has been critically maligned by both professional critics and content creators, and then you have just the average people that don't create content. They've all hated that game. I feel like they're going to have to do a lot to really get people to buy it. I think they're going to have to declone a lot of characters, and if they do declone them, hopefully they will have the design advancements that they made with the DLC weapons, like the Sun Setsukan and stuff had some really cool mechanics. They started really experimenting with the very limited template that they had for the Dynasty Warriors 9 combat engine, and they started expanding upon it even though they didn't really have a new game to really completely revamp things. Hopefully we're going to get something more on that line or even better with this game. Thanks for watching.